Hi guys, welcome back to Nairobi Legal Insights. My name is Rogers Githinji, and in this video we are going to be looking at the importance of registering or forming a company and also the different types of companies that exist in the Kenyan context. In one of our previous video on company law in Kenya, we introduced the concept of legal personality, and we stated that a company is an artificial person. Building onto that principle, I want us to appreciate the importance of a company in general, meaning that why would you opt to go register a company and not a partnership? What is the value of a company existing as a legal person? Now, as you can see, when it comes to a company, shareholders are protected from corporate losses and liabilities. An example here would be that if we have person A, and this person owns shares in company X, and those shares are worth 500,000. In the event that company X suffers losses and it is unable to pay its debts as they fall due, person A, who is a shareholder in company X, is not responsible for paying any more money to cover for the losses or liabilities of company X. Simply put, if you own shares in a company like Airtel or Safaricom worth 500,000 and maybe the company faces some financial challenges, it is not your responsibility as a shareholder to pay for those liabilities or losses, because as a shareholder, you're protected from corporate losses and liabilities. And this again ties back to the concept we introduced, that a company's legal personality is independent from its shareholders or owners. The other importance of a company is that shareholders are distinct from management. An example here would be that if you buy shares worth 1 million in any publicly listed company, clearly you know that you as a shareholder, you're actually distinct from the management of that company. If it's a public company, of course, they will have their management comprising of senior directors and CEOs. They'll have their board running the affairs of that company. And you as a shareholder who purchased shares in that particular company, you're completely distinct from the management. And that could be of value to you because you just step in as an investor to buy shares and earn dividends depending on when a company declares the payment of those dividends. The other importance of a company is that because it is an artificial person, it can own assets. You must have seen in the media where companies have purchased properties, examples where companies have purchased assets in form of property, whether it's land, cars, machines. All those assets belong to the company in its own name. The other key important thing to consider and remember is that a company can also execute binding contracts, meaning that we can have company X signing contracts in its own name. A company can also sue in its own name. You must have seen cases where a company is suing either another company or it's even suing an individual. Because like we stated at the beginning, a company is an artificial person with its own rights. And by virtue of it being incorporated and coming into existence legally, then these rights that accrue to it include the fact that it can sue in its own name. Companies, just like natural persons, you and me, companies who are artificial persons in this specific explanation, they also pay taxes. You know that companies are responsible for paying their own taxes, just like natural persons pay taxes to the government. There is also the importance of perpetual existence. This means that a company can be started today it can outlive its shareholders and even operate for the next 200 years. Meaning that because it is an independent person, it can outlive its shareholders. And I'm sure you've seen several companies that were started many years ago. They still exist, even though the shareholders of that company or the owners could have passed on a long time ago. When it comes to the different types of companies in the Kenyan context, we have what we call a statutory company. And when we talk about a statutory company, it is established by an act of parliament. This means that the power of any statutory company, or how this specific company is going to be governed, will be contained within a relevant act of parliament that actually brings that specific statutory company into existence. So they're all going to be governed based on the relevant acts of parliament that actually establishes those specific companies. An example of a statutory company in the Kenyan context is KPLC, which is a public utility company. The other type of a company that exists is the famous limited company. You can go register a limited company. There are also companies limited by shares, and there are also those limited by guarantee, and also unlimited companies. Now, one of the key concepts to remember here, when we say a person has registered a limited liability company, what that means is that that person is only going to be responsible to the extent of their initial capital contribution into that company. Meaning that if you are part of the shareholders in a limited liability company, taking an example here, if we have person A who is a shareholder or part of the owners of a limited liability company, this person is only responsible to this limited liability company to the extent of his or her initial capital contribution, meaning that the company will pay its own debts in its own right as an artificial person. It will be sued, own property. Basically, it is on its own as an artificial person. And so you can't come back to the shareholder asking for more money so that money is used to pay the debts of a limited liability company. This still ties into the previous conversation we've had on company law. And in case you have any questions up to now, please feel free to drop a comment. You can also follow us on our LinkedIn page for active engagement. And in case you want the short informative videos which really explain different concepts on corporate law in the Kenyan context, you can also follow us on our TikTok account, which is under the name Nairobi Legal Insights. Thank you so much for watching this video. See you next time.